During a family vacation, my parents gave my room to my sister and her kids, telling me to leave right away. So I booked a luxury penthouse at the same hotel. But then they showed up at my new door with bags in hand. I'm Amber. I've always played the role of the other daughter, the one barely mentioned if at all. Every Saturday, I force myself to attend our traditional family dinner at my parents' house, though lately I've been finding more reasons to skip them. Today was no exception. I parked in front of their modest suburban home and took a deep breath before stepping inside. As usual, my older sister Lisa was already there, with her husband Tom by her side and their kids, Emma and Jack, darting around the living room. "Amber, you finally made it," my mom said without really looking up from adjusting the floral centerpiece. There was no warm embrace, no genuine welcome. "Hey Mom, Dad," I greeted, nodding toward my father, who was busy discussing a sports game with Tom. Before long, Mom launched into her sister worship mode. "Did you hear about Lisa's parent-teacher conference? The teacher said Emma is reading 2 grade levels above her age, and Jax's coach believes he could make the competitive team next year." Lisa beamed, soaking up the praise. "I've been using those special reading cards with Emma every night, and I drive Jack to extra practice 3 times a week." I quietly slid into my seat at the table, my presence barely acknowledged. No one ever asked about my day, my work, or my life. What they didn't know, or care to ask, was that 3 months ago I had closed a huge project at work that rescued our biggest client from disaster. I earned a $50,000 bonus, a promotion to senior project manager, and a raise that would make Tom's hefty salary seem like pocket change. "Pass the potatoes, Amber," Lisa said with that look that said, "Poor Amber. Still single, still renting, still insignificant." I passed them over and took a sip of wine. Another secret I kept. I had enlisted my friend Rachel, a real estate agent, to help me find an apartment to buy. I had enough saved for a down payment, and with my new salary, securing a mortgage wasn't an issue. But why share that? They'd somehow twist it to center on Lisa, or act surprised that I could afford it, which would be even worse. Dinner unfolded just as always, more gushes about Lisa, more chatter about Tom's job, more stories about the perfect children. I stayed quiet, letting their words wash over me. Their opinions no longer held any weight. A month after that dinner, Rachel called with thrilling news. She had found the perfect apartment, a 2-bedroom corner unit complete with a balcony and modern kitchen in an up-and-coming neighborhood. I toured it that very evening and fell in love instantly. "This is it, Rachel," I said as I ran my hand along the marble countertop. "I want to put in an offer." 2 weeks later, I signed the mortgage papers and became a homeowner. The rush of pride, accomplishment, and freedom was indescribable. I thought about sharing the news with my family but decided to wait until the next Saturday dinner. It would feel nice to finally have some good news to share. When Saturday came around, I drove to my parents' house with my secret news burning inside me. But as soon as I stepped through the door, something felt off. There was an unusual buzz in the air. Lisa's kids were more energetic than ever, and my parents wore radiant smiles. "What's going on?" I asked as I hung up my jacket. My parents exchanged delighted glances. "We've made a decision," Dad announced. "We're all going on a family vacation to Hawaii. You're coming, right?" I paused. I hadn't taken a vacation in 2 years, and with my new job just starting and no major projects on the horizon, I figured I could manage. "Yeah, I can make it work," I replied. Mom's face lit up instantly. "Wonderful. The whole family together in Hawaii, it'll be perfect." Her genuine happiness at including me caught me by surprise. For a brief moment, I allowed myself to feel included. "We leave in 2 weeks, Dad explained. "We've been planning this for a while, and waited until we were sure everyone could go before telling you." I sank into my seat, my own news temporarily pushed aside. A family vacation might be nice. Maybe things would be different, away from our old routines, and perhaps they'd see me in a new light. Dinner then shifted to discussions about Hawaii, what to pack, places to visit, activities to try. For once, I wasn't completely ignored, though most questions directed at me were purely practical. "Amber, do you have enough vacation days?" Dad asked. "Yes, I can take 2 weeks, I replied. I decided to keep my apartment news for after the vacation. Hawaii was the focus for now, and my new home would be waiting when we returned. The following Saturday, I arrived at my parents' for dinner, expecting more excited chatter about our upcoming trip. Instead, I found Lisa sitting at the table looking dejected, her eyes puffy from crying, while the kids sat quietly, coloring at the coffee table. What happened? I asked as I set down my purse. My parents exchanged worried looks. Lisa sniffled dramatically before answering. Tom and I had a huge fight. Her voice wavered as she continued. He refused to pay for my trip to Hawaii. He says I'm too lazy from being at home and don't deserve a vacation. I bit back a comment about how Lisa hardly did any work at home. Tom had even hired a maid last year because she claimed housework gave her migraines. So you're not going to Hawaii? I asked. Lisa shook her head sadly. Not unless Tom changes his mind, which he won't, being so stubborn. It's okay, Dad said, patting Mom's hand. We'll plan another family trip later this year. This isn't our only chance. The rest of the dinner turned somber as everyone comforted Lisa about her controlling husband. I stayed silent, torn between sympathy and irritation. On one hand, Tom shouldn't unilaterally decide how family money is spent. On the other, I sensed there was more to Lisa's story. Over the next week, I got my vacation plans in order. I requested 2 weeks off from work, and my boss approved immediately, grateful for my recent project success. I packed my suitcase, arranged for my mail, and braced myself for 10 days with my parents without Lisa acting as a buffer. The day before we left, Mom called to confirm the details. We've booked 2 rooms, she explained. One for your father and me, and a single for you. They're standard rooms, not fancy but comfortable. Sounds perfect, I replied, secretly relieved that I wouldn't have to share a room. I'll meet you at the airport tomorrow morning. After hanging up, I glanced around my nearly empty old apartment. Most of my belongings had already moved to my new place, but I'd left enough behind to maintain appearances until after the vacation. I still hadn't told my family about buying an apartment. I planned to surprise them when we returned from Hawaii. The next morning, I met my parents at the airport. We checked in, boarded our flight, and 5 hours later, we were landing in Honolulu. The warm, fragrant air greeted us as we stepped off the plane, and despite my reservations about spending so much time with my parents, I felt a surge of excitement. Our hotel, a mid-range place with a decent pool and beach access, was only 20 minutes from the airport. During check-in, I chatted with a friendly receptionist named Kai. We're fully booked for the standard rooms, she explained. You're lucky you made reservations when you did. We only have our luxury penthouses available now, and those are much more expensive. I nodded and accepted the key card she handed me. Thanks for the info. My room was simple but tidy, featuring a queen bed, a small balcony, and a bathroom with a shower. After unpacking, I changed into shorts and a t-shirt and met my parents by the pool for a drink. We spent the rest of that day and the following one exploring the hotel grounds, swimming in the ocean, and adjusting to the time difference. It was actually pleasant. My parents seemed more relaxed here, less focused on comparing me to Lisa, and I found myself enjoying their company more than I had in years. Then on our 3rd day in Hawaii, everything changed. I was in my room, applying sunscreen in preparation for a beach morning, when a loud knock startled me. Opening the door, I found my parents standing there with worried expressions, and behind them Lisa appeared frazzled, with Emma and Jack clinging to her hands. Lisa, I said, stunned. What are you doing here? Lisa collapsed dramatically onto my bed. Tom and I had another huge fight. I couldn't stay at that house any longer, so I took some money from his wallet and bought tickets for me and the kids. Shocked, I asked, You took money from Tom? Lisa glared. It's our money. If he controls it all, I deserve this vacation and so do the kids. Mom nodded supportively. Of course you did, sweetheart. But where are you staying? I asked, eyeing their luggage. Did you book a room? Lisa and my parents exchanged glances. That's the problem, Lisa murmured. I had enough for the flights, but not for a hotel room. In that moment, it hit me like a bucket of cold water. I remembered Kai mentioning that all the standard rooms were fully booked, leaving only the expensive penthouses. Exactly, Dad said, looking at me with an intensity that made me uncomfortable. The room fell silent as everyone fixed their expectant gaze on me. Finally, Mom broke the silence. Amber, you need to pack your things. I almost couldn't believe it. Pack your things. I asked, certain I'd misheard. She repeated firmly. Lisa and the kids need your room. I scanned their faces, Mom's determined, Dad's expectant, and Lisa's self-assured look, and felt a surge of anger. Where am I supposed to go? I demanded, folding my arms. Dad simply shrugged. You could find another hotel or fly home early if you can't get a room. Lisa deserves this vacation more than you do, Mom added as if that settled it. She'd been through so much with Tom. I stared at them in disbelief. Are you serious? You want me to give up the room I've already paid for, and am currently staying in so that Lisa can have it after she stole money and showed up unannounced? That's enough, Mom snapped. This isn't up for discussion. Then, to my absolute shock, she strode over to my closet, grabbed my suitcase, and began tossing my clothes inside. Mom, stop it! I yelled, moving to intercept her, but she ignored me, haphazardly cramming my belongings into the bag. When it was full, she zipped it shut and left it in the hallway outside my room. There, she said. Now Lisa and the kids can settle in. I stood frozen, unable to process what was happening. Lisa was already instructing the kids to place their backpacks on my bed, while Dad gathered my toiletries from the bathroom counter into a plastic bag. I could have fought back. I could have called the front desk since the room was in my name, and created a scene that would be remembered for years. But as I looked at these people, my supposed family, something inside me shattered and then reformed into something harder and clearer. Without another word, I grabbed my purse, turned and walked out, leaving my suitcase behind. I could hear my parents and Lisa already discussing sleeping arrangements. My first impulse was to book the next flight home, but as I neared the front desk, a better idea sparked in my mind. I recalled the luxurious penthouses Kai had mentioned earlier. Approaching the desk, Kai looked up. Her friendly smile faltered when she saw my expression. Miss Wilson, is everything all right? She asked. Not really, I admitted, but I'm about to change that. You mentioned you have penthouses available. Her eyes widened slightly. Yes, we do, but they're significantly more expensive than our standard rooms. How much more expensive? She inquired, quoting a figure that would have made me faint 2 years ago. Now, with a determined glint in my eye, I resolved to make this work. I didn't even hesitate. I'll take one, I declared. Your finest, please. As I trailed behind a bellhop who had just retrieved my suitcase from the hallway outside my old room. We rode a private elevator straight to the top floor, and when he swung open the door to reveal my new accommodations, I couldn't help but exclaim in awe. The penthouse was breathtaking, vast and tastefully appointed, with floor-to-ceiling windows that framed an expansive view. The open living space flowed effortlessly into a dining area and a fully stocked kitchen, and beyond that lay an enormous bedroom boasting the largest bed I had ever seen. I uncorked a complimentary bottle of champagne, poured myself a generous glass, and stepped out onto the terrace. The sun was dipping below the ocean, setting the sky ablaze with vivid oranges and pinks. Leaning against the railing, I raised my glass and toasted aloud. To knowing your worth, before taking a long, satisfying sip. That night I slept better than I had in years, sprawled across a king-sized bed with sheets as soft as clouds. In the morning, a gentle knock announced room service delivering a complimentary breakfast. After enjoying my meal on the terrace, I decided to head down to the beach. As I passed through the lobby, I spotted my parents and Lisa with the kids near the entrance. They were setting off, presumably in search of an inexpensive breakfast since the hotel's rates were steep. Lisa was the first to notice me. Amber, there you are, she called, waving as if we were just ordinary family members bumping into each other on vacation. I approached them slowly, keeping my expression neutral. Then my mom remarked with a self-satisfied smile. Where did you end up sleeping last night? Did you find another hotel? My dad even looked slightly uneasy before I could reply. At that moment, Kai appeared beside me. Miss Wilson, I wanted to confirm your cabana reservation for this afternoon. As our VIP guest, we've secured the best spot on the beach for you, she explained. My family's expression shifted from smug to confused. VIP guest? My mom echoed. Kai replied brightly. Yes, Miss Wilson is staying in our premier penthouse suite, which gives her access to all our exclusive amenities, including private dining in our gourmet restaurant. Will your family be joining you for lunch today? The looks on their faces were priceless. Lisa's jaw dropped, my mom's eyes widened, and my dad looked as if he had swallowed something sour. I answered calmly, No, they won't be joining me. Very well, enjoy your breakfast at Rico, Kai said to my family, referring to the budget diner down the street popular with thrifty tourists, accompanied by a casual wave to my stunned relatives. I moved on toward the beach, feeling lighter than I had in years. I spent the day indulging in every luxury the hotel offered. I treated myself to a soothing massage at the spa, lounged in my private cabana where attentive staff delivered tropical drinks, and swam in the ocean whenever the sun grew too intense. Not once did I dwell on my family. That evening I returned to the penthouse to shower and change for dinner. The hotel's gourmet restaurant required a dress code, and I had packed a simple black dress that would be perfect. As I was just about to fasten my earrings, a knock sounded at my door. Through the peephole I saw my entire family, parents, Lisa, and the kids, standing in the hallway with their luggage. For a moment I considered pretending I wasn't home, but curiosity won out. I opened the door and deliberately blocked the entrance with my body. "What do you want?" I demanded without waiting for an invitation. My mother pushed past me into the penthouse, followed by my father, Lisa, and the children. They gathered in my living room, gawking at the luxurious surroundings. "My first, Amber, we've decided that we're staying here with you for the rest of the vacation," my mom announced abruptly. I blinked, convinced I had misheard. "Excuse me," I repeated. "We've checked out of our rooms," my dad explained as if it were completely normal. "Lisa, the kids, they've all checked out of your old room too. We're all staying here," Lisa added, already eyeing the massive sofa as if planning her sleeping spot. "There's plenty of room," she continued. I couldn't help but laugh. "No," I said firmly once I could speak again. "You are not staying here. This is my room which I paid for, and you're not welcome in it." Lisa stepped forward, her tone softening into that familiar, pleading cadence. "Come on, Amber, don't be selfish. Look at all this space, we're family," I repeated, feeling my anger rise. Family doesn't kick someone out of their own room. Family doesn't turn someone else's vacation into their problem. Family asks about your life and celebrates your successes. This is absurd. Lisa snapped back. "We already checked out of our rooms." "That sounds like your problem," I retorted, echoing my dad's earlier words. "Now please leave before I call security." Instead of backing down, they began arguing loudly, talking over one another. Lisa's voice rose above the rest. "You're being incredibly selfish right now, I have children." I grabbed the hotel phone and called the front desk, which temporarily silenced them. "I need security sent to my room to escort some unwanted guests," I announced. After hanging up, I saw their expressions shift from entitlement and anger to panic. "You can't be serious," my mom said flatly. "But where will we go?" Lisa asked, her voice cracking. "All the budget rooms are booked." Soon a knock came at the door. Hotel security had arrived promptly. I opened the door to find Kai herself, flanked by 2 security officers. "Is there a problem, Miss Wilson?" she inquired. "Yes, these people need to leave my room and they refuse to do so," I replied. Kai then turned to my family and said, "I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to come with me." "Wait," my mom pleaded desperately. "Can't we get our old rooms back?" Kai shook her head sympathetically. "I'm sorry, but as explained when you checked out, those rooms have been reassigned to new guests. They're occupied now." As they followed Kai out, my mother turned back and muttered, "This isn't over, Amber." I closed the door behind them without a word and stepped out onto my terrace. My phone buzzed with messages from my mom. "We are at the Palm Budget Motel, 1 room for all 5 of us. The bathroom reeks of mold. I hope you're happy." Another message from Lisa read, "The kids are crying because their beds are filthy. How can you do this to them?" I switched off my phone and set it aside. Their attempts to manipulate me might have worked once, but not anymore. I was only responsible for myself, and for the first time in my life I was putting myself first. The remainder of my Hawaiian vacation was blissful. I deliberately kept my phone off most of the time, checking it only once a day to ensure there was no real emergency. The angry messages from my family persisted for 2 days and then suddenly stopped. I later learned from a hotel staff member that they had checked out of the budget motel and flown back to the mainland early. My mother had left a note at the front desk stating, "We're going home. Hope you're satisfied." I was more than satisfied. I spent my remaining days swimming in the ocean, hiking to a waterfall, taking a sunset cruise, and generally doing whatever I pleased. Free from the burden of family expectations and judgment. I felt transformed. Lighter, happier, and completely free. As my plane ascended, I watched Hawaii shrink beneath me. Not with sadness but with resolve. That vacation had been a turning point, there was no going back to the way things were. After landing, I took a taxi directly to my new apartment. Although it was still sparsely furnished, it was mine. I walked from room to room, making mental notes of what I still needed to buy. Tomorrow, I plan to shop for a proper dining table and perhaps some artwork for the walls. Everything to make this place truly my own. 2 weeks after returning from Hawaii, I was comfortably settled in my new apartment and back at work. I threw myself into a new project, buoyed by the confidence I'd gained from standing up to my family. I began speaking up more in meetings and taking on additional responsibilities. One afternoon, my phone rang, displaying my mother's number. I had been expecting her call eventually, though I still felt a flutter of anxiety as I answered. "Hello, Amber?" Her voice began, tinged with accusation. "We went to your old apartment and they said you don't live there anymore." "That's right," I replied calmly. After a pause, my mother spoke again, her tone suddenly sweet and curious. "You moved? Where exactly? Can we have your new address? I think it's time we all talked and made up." I could hear Lisa whispering something urgently in the background. "I bought my own place," I stated, "with a mortgage." There was a stunned silence on the other end, followed by muffled exclamations. "You bought an apartment," my mom finally said. "When?" "About 2 months ago. I received a promotion, a significant raise last year, and even a bonus for a major project I completed." "Why didn't you tell us?" Her voice wavered with hurt. "I wasn't moved. When would I have told you? During those family dinners where you only discussed Lisa, or perhaps during the vacation when you kicked me out of my own hotel room?" A long silence followed. "We should meet and talk about this," my mom eventually suggested. "Family shouldn't be estranged. What's your address? Come over this weekend." I took a deep breath and said firmly, "No, Mom. I'm not giving you my address and I don't want to meet right now. I need space from all of you." "Amber," her tone sharpened, "we're your family. You can't just cut us off." "Actually, I can, and I will, until you all understand why your behavior has been unacceptable." I hung up before she could respond, my heart pounding but my resolve unshaken. Over the next several months, my family tried everything to reestablish contact. They called, texted, and even emailed my work address, sometimes angrily, sometimes pleadingly, sometimes manipulatively. I deleted most without fully reading them. Through mutual acquaintances, I learned that Lisa and Tom were experiencing serious marital problems. The incident in Hawaii had been the final straw, and they were now headed for divorce. I felt a brief pang of sympathy for the kids, but reminded myself that Lisa's choices were not my responsibility. As for me, I was thriving. I'd been promoted again, made new friends in a hiking club, and even started dating someone I met at a work conference. My apartment was now fully furnished and decorated exactly how I wanted it. It was my sanctuary. Sometimes I thought about reconciling with my family, perhaps someday if they showed genuine remorse and a willingness to change, but I wasn't holding my breath, nor was I going to put my life on hold waiting for that to happen. In the weeks that followed that painful confrontation, I threw myself into rebuilding my life piece by piece. Every day became an opportunity to rediscover who I truly was. I began to understand that the hurt I felt wasn't a sign of weakness, but a call to honor my own worth. My apartment, once just a temporary sanctuary from family expectations, transformed into a personal haven, a space that reflected my journey toward healing and self-acceptance. I filled my mornings with quiet rituals, a strong cup of coffee on my small balcony overlooking the bustling city, a few pages of a novel that inspired courage, and long walks through familiar streets that I now saw with fresh eyes. I started joining a local hiking club, and each trail became a metaphor for my ascent from the depths of familial neglect to the heights of self-reliance. In these moments of solitude, I found clarity, and slowly, the scars began to fade into the background of a much larger picture. A life defined not by my past, but by the promise of each new day. At work, the transformation was equally profound. The confidence I gained from finally asserting my boundaries spilled into my professional life. I found my voice in meetings, my ideas resonated with colleagues, And soon, new opportunities unfolded before me. With each success, a project well done, a respectful nod from a supervisor, even a simple thank you from a coworker, I felt the heavy weight of my old insecurities lift a little more. I was no longer the quiet shadow in the family portrait. I was beginning to stand in the light of my own achievements. Yet, as my personal and professional worlds flourished, the echoes of family tension still reached me. One crisp autumn afternoon, an unexpected email arrived from Lisa. Her message was tentative and raw, a sincere apology for the past, an admission of the hurtful actions that had pushed me away. She confessed that her need for validation had clouded her judgment, and that she was now seeking help to understand and mend the fractures in her own life. It was the first time I had seen such vulnerability from her, and while it didn't erase the pain of Hawaii, it sparked a cautious hope that perhaps our family could, one day, find common ground. I responded with honesty, sharing how deeply the events had wounded me and explaining that my distance wasn't an act of rejection, but an essential step in reclaiming my identity. I made it clear that while I was open to dialogue, any future encounters needed to honor the boundaries I had fought so hard to establish. My reply wasn't a plea for reconciliation. It was a declaration of my newfound strength and self-respect. A few days later, my parents and Lisa agreed to meet in a neutral, sunlit park on the outskirts of the city. Under the sprawling branches of an ancient oak, we gathered for what turned out to be a tentative heart-to-heart conversation. The discussion was raw, filled with long-held grievances and quiet admissions. My father, voice thick with emotion, confessed that he had always underestimated my quiet resilience, while my mother acknowledged the subtle ways in which she prioritized Lisa's achievements over my own. Lisa, with tears in her eyes, admitted that her relentless pursuit of perfection had left little room for empathy. As we spoke, the familiar tension began to ease, replaced by a fragile understanding that we were all, in our own way, products of the same troubled legacy. Over the following months, we embarked on a slow journey toward healing. Family therapy became a regular part of our lives, a structured space where we learned to communicate without blame and to listen without judgment. There were setbacks, moments when old habits resurfaced, but gradually we all learned to respect each other's space and individual growth. I continued to live on my own terms, celebrating my personal milestones while cautiously engaging with my family on mutually respectful terms. Late one evening, as I sat alone on my balcony watching the city lights flicker against the dark sky, I wrote a long letter to myself, a testament to my journey. I poured out the pain of the past, the joy of the present, and my hopes for a future where my worth would be acknowledged not by others, but by me. That letter became a turning point. It was a reminder that while reconciliation was a hopeful possibility, the most important relationship I needed to nurture was with myself. The final resolution emerged not in a dramatic family reunion or a miraculous overnight transformation, but in the quiet certainty that I had reclaimed my life. I learned that family isn't defined solely by shared blood or childhood memories, but by mutual respect, compassion, and the courage to change. My new life was a blend of vibrant independence and tentative reconnection, a life where I had finally set my boundaries and embraced my own happiness. Now, as I continue forward, I hold no illusions that the past will vanish entirely. There will always be memories of hurt and moments of doubt. Yet I face each day with a resilient spirit, confident that I have the power to shape my own destiny. I have built a home that is mine in every sense, nurtured relationships that uplift me, and most importantly, learned to value myself. In that newfound balance, I discovered that true resolution is not about erasing the past, but about growing stronger from it and moving toward a future filled with hope, authenticity, and a deep, abiding sense of peace.